Struggling with an overwhelming surge of illegal crossings. Law enforcement is making huge busts even here in East Texas. And we were there to witness firsthand what's gone wrong in part one of our series, Border Breakdown.
That way if they went north, they'll figure it out.
It's the crack of dawn for Border Patrol agent Jesse Moreno. 30 minutes into his shift, his team finds 8 migrants. Their dangerous 3-week journey coming to an end in the dark at a Texas farmer's orange grove. These Central Americans wasted thousands of dollars on the ultimate gamble, risking it all for a new opportunity in the United States. Law enforcement says they are overwhelmed, keeping up with a record-breaking flow of illegal crossings.
Make sure you're looking around you, because they're usually in all these trees.
Large groups are pouring in undetected into the U.S., with some traveling north through East Texas. Last fall, Cherokee County deputies found 24 people packed into one SUV on Highway 69, with this woman receiving a federal charge for smuggling immigrants for money. Agents in South Texas are trying to put an end to this cartel activity.
They are gaining money by exploiting these vulnerable individuals that are trying to come over here to make a better life for themselves.
It's now 8:30 in the morning and Border Patrol is in hot pursuit. Helicopters have detected another group of illegal immigrants. This time, 14 more are spotted, hiding in that same orange grove. These Central Americans are all in seek of refuge, like William Martinez, who made the trek from El Salvador to the Texas border.
I had my business, and honestly, over there in El Salvador, the situation is very hard.
This is just one out of many groups we've encountered just within the past 2 hours alongside Border Patrol. Now, many of these migrants tell me they're seeking asylum and protection here in America because of gang violence in their home countries.
What did you want to do in LA? More than anything because of threats. Threats? Yeah, threats.
But not all are rooted in pure intentions, as thousands stream in unnoticed.
We do encounter regularly migrant gang members, criminal gang members, sex offenders. So all of these individuals do pose a significant risk to our communities if they do slip through the cracks.
Human smuggling lies at the basis of the surge. It's the Mexican cartel's greatest commodity.
They're out here for monetary gain. Everybody has to pay.
These migrants were charged nearly $11,000 for what is now a pointless voyage.
It is a very dangerous trek to come into the United States illegally in that manner. The foot guides won't hesitate to leave an individual behind.
There has been a sharp rebound of illegal crossings throughout the Rio Grande Valley. In 2020, 31,000 adults traveling alone were taken in, compared to 86 in 2021. Where are most of these people coming from?
Central America, Mexico, but last year I think we apprehended individuals from over 60 countries.
For families crossing together, encounters spiked from 9 to 51,000, most making their way from Guatemala or Honduras, where not only parents and their children journey through Mexico, but mixed in are kids sent alone without their mother or father. In total, 6,000 young lone travelers were apprehended in 2020, jumping to nearly 21,000 to wrap up 2021. Sobering statistics, with all of them nearly tripling.
The biggest challenge for me is just being able to help secure our nation against terrorist weapons of mass effect, illegal migration.
It's been an hour since the last bust, and this small team of agents is already nearing 50 arrests for the morning. With the help from Eyes in the Sky to agents on foot along rural land, resources are stretched thin.
Just being able to intake and deal with all of that vast number of individuals in our custody has been one of the biggest challenges with our agents.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is taking matters into his own hands.
Texas will continue to step up where the Biden administration has failed to do its job.
Deploying troopers and game wardens to the border and building temporary barriers. But is it enough?
If it's a hop and a skip into the community and there's a physical barrier, that allows our agents more time to respond accordingly. So it does hamper their ability to blend into the community.
No matter the solution, a problem that took the stage in 2021 streams into 2022, showing no signs of slowing. What happens at the border is not only affecting law enforcement, but also Texans who live along the region. Now, many say they feel unsafe in their own land and want solutions. We hear from them tomorrow night at 10 in the second part of our series, Border Breakdown.
Cable network taking you directly to the U.S.-Mexico border with a dedicated correspondent. Robert Sherman started his 2-week tour in San Diego with the story of deported U.S. veteran finally welcomed home after a decade. And today, Robert arrived in Yuma, Arizona, and it did not take long for his crew to encounter this family desperately seeking a fresh start. The family walked from Colombia right up to our News Nation team, begging for water and for help flagging down Border Patrol. Robert Sherman joins us live from Yuma. And Robert, this is a sector that's actually already seen a 2,000% increase in border encounters compared to last year.
It has, Nicole, and these aren't just numbers on paper. We've been standing in the same spot for hours today, and it has been one migrant crossing after another. Some of them have been pretty dire. Out of the Arizona darkness emerged Jorbulo Cristo and his family. For the past 8 days, they've been traveling to the U.S. from Colombia.
Water.
Parched, cold, and tired, they finally made it this morning.
Gracias por el agua.
They're not alone. This family arrived less than an hour later in the exact same spot. The father trying to carry his daughter the last bit across a canal.
And it just doesn't stop. That's the real tragedy, right? So it just continues to compound itself.
Jonathan Lyons, Yuma County supervisor, says this happens every day here. Brand new Customs and Border Protection numbers show the Yuma sector has seen a nearly 2,400% increase in migrant encounters compared to this time last fiscal year, putting a strain on the local hospitals and 911 call centers. The Yuma Gap gets its name from the gaping spaces in the border fence along the sector's 156 miles. Lyons believes unless the federal government gives them more assistance, the surge here won't go away.
We need them to fulfill their commitments on finishing this wall. The added security, additional agents here along the line, allowing them to do their border to keep us safe.
More wall would help curb drug smuggling and divert migrant traffic to the east, making the job easier for Border Patrol. But some migrants are absolutely determined to come, like Cristo and his family. And people like them find themselves here every single day.
Quiero que me ayude.
I need help. I heard the United States gives political asylum to people. I want to ask for help.
And Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas was in Yuma last month, where he promised local leaders that he would give this sector more resources. Those local leaders tell us that they're hoping that happens, but they're not banking on it. Nicole?
Yeah, those resources definitely needed. Such compelling video there, Robert. If you're reporting, now the number of illegal crossings we're seeing, it's staggering. The Border Patrol's approach to apprehensions of those coming into the country, it's changed during the pandemic. Nick is at the News Nation Smart Board with more.
During the first year of the pandemic, over 90% of all migrants were expelled immediately rather than processed into the immigration system. A stark difference from the pre-pandemic policy. Take a look. What changed is the presence of CDC Title 42, which essentially gives CBP permission to deport any migrant without giving them a chance to seek asylum. In non-pandemic times, migrants were taken into the U.S. and either held in CBP custody or released into the country while awaiting asylum. Now, unless you are an unaccompanied child, generally, you're given a health check and then sent back to Mexico or your country of origin. And since single adults have been crossing more frequently than children, there are more expulsions and apprehensions. Families, no. Single adults, no. Children are indeed given an opportunity to be processed. This policy is also one reason CBP has seen a dramatic increase in the repeated crossing attempts by single adults. In just the last December, 23% of all individuals encountered were repeat crossers.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. And tomorrow morning, we will have the full results of our exclusive poll on border concerns. We're going to break down what you have to say about immigration, crime, the humanitarian crisis, and so much more. And that is our exclusive polling.
We have been reporting for a number of weeks now these secret migrant flights that aren't just being deposited in one town. They're being deposited in many towns throughout the country. And so we have a situation where lawmakers are curious as to, from an accounting perspective, where are these individuals going? Are they being just deposited into Scranton, like we reported on, in Westchester County? Or are there other districts throughout the country that the people in those districts should know about?
Without a doubt. It's a financial issue that a lot of taxpayers want to have answers to. And it's also an issue of following the laws. Last time I checked, it's still illegal to cross the border illegally.
All right, we do have Congressman Harris. Sorry about the little technical snafu there. Your letter requests a full accounting of the number of individuals that have been placed in these various districts by the federal government. What do you expect those numbers to show?
Well, we don't know. The fact of the matter is the Department of Homeland Security is not transparent at all with these secret night flights and bus trips into the interior. We need to know if these individuals are coming into our districts. We need to know the numbers of these individuals. That's what our communities deserve to know.
Congressman, as this border gets worse and worse every single day, is this administration listening to any Republican proposals to improve it?
No, they're not. They're doubling down. They're admitting hundreds of thousands of people across the border each and every month, and they're sending them into the interior. They're not telling anyone where they're sending them to, and this is going to put a strain on our communities and our economy.
As a doctor, many of us have been accused of saying, oh, these individuals are bringing COVID into the country. They are responsible for some of the high rise in Omicron cases. As a doctor, do you agree with that assessment?
Well, we actually don't even know because the Department of Homeland Security won't even tell us what screening they're doing. They won't tell us what steps they're taking. We certainly know that that's one of the few vaccine mandates that don't exist is a vaccine mandate on these individuals being sent into our communities.
It makes no sense. Before we let you go, New York Congresswoman Kathleen Rice, now the 30th House Democrat to bow out of the midterms as the stage is set for a Republican takeover. You know Congress, you know your colleagues. As for those 30 that are no longer running, how confident are you that Republicans can flip some, if not most of them?
Well, some of those districts, like Kathleen Rice's district, I think is not going to be one that we're going to win. But what it indicates is that the Democrats realize they're going to be in the minority in Washington, and they realize that they're not going to control policy anymore, thank goodness, and that the Republicans will be in charge.
And they're going to be, my guess tells me, a lot of investigation on some of the topics we've mentioned, not the least of which are COVID, not the least of which are the border. Dr. Representative Andy Harris, we appreciate your time. Thanks for bearing with us as we work through those tech issues. We appreciate your time.
The Massachusetts House of Representatives just passed a bill which could allow undocumented immigrants to get driver's licenses. WBZ political analyst John Keller has been monitoring the debate all afternoon for us and joins us now. So, John, this was an overwhelming vote.
Yeah, it is. And this is an issue that for many years, Paul, as you know, has been caught up in the bitter emotions surrounding our broken immigration system. Today, Republicans and some Democrats repeated their arguments that a license is a privilege reserved for legal residents. But today, Democratic leaders pointed out that the 16 other states that have passed similar bills haven't had problems, and they claimed law enforcement officials are telling them they need this bill to help enforce road safety laws.
Our job, our task of doing traffic enforcement is made better, is made easier when the person behind the wheel presents a driver's license.
We are now starting to incentivize that, hey, don't worry about being undocumented. Don't worry about being here illegally. You can still come to Massachusetts, and not only can you get an ID, you can get a driver's license.
Well, Well, now, critics of this bill also noted that while some police chiefs have endorsed it, many others have not. Supporters claimed that states with this law have seen decreases in hit-and-run incidents and in the numbers of uninsured drivers. So now it's on to the Senate.
Right. And, John, it's interesting. Governor Baker has expressed opposition to this idea in the past. So the question is, will he veto it? Will lawmakers vote to override it? What do you think?
Well, this is going to be a real gut check for the Massachusetts Republican Party. Every member of the party in the House voted no on this. There were 7 Democrats who voted with the Republicans. They would need to flip about 8 more Democratic votes to deny the 2/3 needed to override Governor Baker's veto in the House. If they can't do that on an issue that's been this volatile for so long, it raises a question, what can they do?
Right.
Paula?
John Keller, thanks so much. Enter it in.
Illegal crossings at the southern border not slowing down. Border agents tell us they encountered more than 35,000 migrants in the Del Rio sector alone over the last 30 days, and that's up more than 200% from a year ago. Bill Malusian live at the border in La Jolla, Texas, to help us make sense of those numbers. Good morning, Bill.
Dana, good morning to you. Border Patrol agents having to wear a lot of hats these days. They're arresting people, they're processing people, they are also saving people's lives. Case in point, if we can pull up this harrowing video right here, courtesy of the Eagle Pass news leader. What you're looking at are border agents in Del Rio sector saving the lives of a Haitian family of 3 who tried crossing the Rio Grande in Eagle Pass, Texas, and all started drowning. Now, an agent jumped into the water, saved the mom and the little girl, but the dad was underwater, was unresponsive, and what you're looking at is the agent went into that water, pulled the dad onto the shoreline, and agent started performing CPR on him in an effort to save his life. And I'm happy to report, because of the quick actions of those agents, all 3 survived. Mom, dad, and the 5-year-old girl all survived to live another day, thanks to those agents getting into that water. Then if we can pull up this photo out of Border Patrol's Tucson, Arizona sector, which has been very busy lately, what you're looking at is a large single group that they just apprehended of 112 migrants near San Miguel, Arizona. They were all from Central America, and there were 70 unaccompanied kids just in that single group. Then also in Tucson sector, a huge fentanyl bust. If we can pull up this photo, agents arresting a Mexican national who was smuggling these fentanyl pills under his clothes while he was on a shuttle bus heading to the Tucson area. Those fentanyl pills had a street value of about $85,000. The case now being handled by the DEA in Phoenix, but that bust right there could potentially be a life-saving bust because we all know how bad the fentanyl problem is right now. Then lastly, also again out of Border Patrol's Tucson, Arizona sector, if we can pull up this mugshot here, this is a convicted child rapist. Agents arrested over the weekend after he crossed illegally into Arizona. His name is Alejandro Lopez Batista, and a records check on him revealed he was previously convicted of rape with a child out of Pacific County, Washington. Then back out here live, you mentioned how busy the Del Rio sector is. Their numbers right now are essentially triple what they were the same time last year. Over Super Bowl weekend, they had more than 3,400 migrant arrests, and they just reported a short time ago, just this morning, they arrested 2 more sex offenders. We'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Bill Malusian in Texas for us.
Language barriers in our state. Advocates are calling for an amendment to a 20-year-old law requiring all official documents to be written in English. It was signed into law by Governor Tom Vilsack in 2002. Iowa Migrant Movement for Justice is pushing for a bill that would change the law to allow the use of English or, quote, any other language deemed necessary. The IMMJ believes this is a big step toward making Iowa more accessible for immigrants, especially during times of crisis.
Immigrants and refugees disproportionately bore the brunt of the negative impacts of the pandemic. They got sicker, more people died, they suffered in the workplace, all because we didn't really have the mechanisms in place to effectively communicate during a crisis.
The bill has until Friday to make it out of committee before being lost in the legislature's first funnel. Right now, the outlook isn't great. The head of the subcommittee, where the bill has been since mid-January, told Axios he doesn't plan to call a meeting on it.
We saw some of the video of your farm. I know it's been in your family for 4 generations. It means a lot to you, and you want to make sure that the cartels are not walking through your property and your land to keep your family safe. What are you seeing?
So we're seeing more military-aged males. We are seeing people with
camo. I don't know if there's the footage, but they're wearing carpet shoes, blacked out water bottles, and you know, it's untenable what's coming across. You know, the thing is all of this, it's fentanyl, it's sexual assaults, it's children being abused that are coming across. And the thing people don't realize is we are at a tipping point in southern Arizona, but it's not going to stop there. You have to go through my farm on one of the most dangerous trafficking routes. The Silver Bell trafficking route goes right through my farm. And then it gets to I-10 and I-8 can be dispersed across the country, everything from humans to fentanyl. And this open border policy that we have now that Biden in the White House is literally fueling the cartel's business model.